Lord, I think Dr. Heavenly done went and bumped her fucking head. What up, family? It's Dr. Larry Smith. I am a historian, a history professor, an entrepreneur, Pan-Africanist, pro-Black social scientist, and so much more. I love popular culture, so this is where you come to my channel, my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Larry Speaks Truth. And on this channel, I give my unfiltered, unedited opinion, but also factual information backed up by evidence and so much more on this channel as it relates to history, as it relates to politics, as it relates to popular culture, and so much more. So today I wanted to talk about a very, very, very important topic, near and dear to my heart, but also very important and need to be had within the Black community. And that is the topic about the false perceptions that a lot of brothers and sisters have of the queer community. If it wasn't obvious, I am a queer man. And my definition of queer is just basically somebody who is open sexually or attracted to trans men, trans women, cis men, cis women, and that's just how it works. So I consider myself queer. I also consider myself queer simply because I feel like the mainstream LGBTQ movement is a white movement. And I feel a lot of times, even within that movement, black and people of color who are queer, we get left out. So I'm in the vein of the James Baldwins. I'm in the vein of the Angela Davises, of the Nikki Giovannis, who refer to themselves as queer. Bayard Rustin, so I'm queer. But in the Black community, there is a piss poor perception of the queer community. But I will go even further, okay? There is a poor perception of Black queer men. Black gay men, right? For whatever reason, there is this perception that Black gay men are all effeminate. And there is a perception that all effeminate men are gay. And there is this perception that anybody who's effeminate, whether it's a man or a woman, that it's a sign of weakness. And lastly, we diminish, reduce, put down, make less than, inferiorize people we deem to be effeminate. And sometimes it's misfounded. Most times it's misfounded. And just because someone is effeminate, as most women are cultured to be, it gets misplaced. So because of that, I want to address a very specific thing. Dr. Heavenly Kimes, who is arguably the star right now of the show Married to Medicine. Now, for those of my viewers, because I know my viewers range in age, I know my viewers range in socioeconomic level, I know my viewers range in race and geographic location, wherever. Married to Medicine is a show about doctors and marriages, their marriages. So it's pretty self-explanatory in the name, Married to Medicine, and all the drama of marriages and being doctors and all of that stuff. It really is a fascinating show because there's not many shows in which you see Black excellence on display. These are doctors, these are physicians, these are highly respected physicians in their fields and their spouses. And of course, Dr. Heavenly herself is a dentist, but she's also married to a highly respected physician, Dr. Damon Kimes. But the thing about it is, and by the way, I watch it. They've had their share of dramas, but it's a reality show on Bravo, but it's slightly different. It's better in many ways because it's not the overt drama of the Love and Hip Hop. It's not the type of drama of the Real Housewives. It has its differences. while there have been fights, not many, while it has its arguments and things like that, it's really we've been watching almost 10 years of friendship evolve, develop, get closer, in this unique experience. So to me, Married to Medicine represents something slightly different, right? Dr. Heavily. Dr. Heavily has always been interesting. She 9 times out of 10, about 95% of the time, truth be told, she's going to say something that's going to offend someone else. She's going to be disrespectful with her mouth many times. Her favorite go-to whenever she wants to hurt someone's feeling is your mama, your mama. Almost in an immature, childish, nasty way. She almost got into a physical altercation saying that to another doctor, Dr. Contessa Metcalf, whose mother passed from breast cancer. So Dr. Heavily has been reckless with her mouth. And she has a pretty popular YouTube channel. And that's when she speaks the most mess about her castmates, about her life, and the marriages of other people. Well, this week in one of her lives, she said something quite disparaging and disrespectful about gay men. So I'm going to put it here so that you can hear what Dr. Heavily had to say. Listen to this.
What it is. So when you have a conversation with somebody, if somebody gets upset and it goes to the left, most men, real men, not gay men, not bitch men, you know what I'm saying? The guys that are kind of soft, but real men are going to feel like, you know what I mean? Straight men are going to feel like if you tell my wife to shut the fuck up, I'm going to have a problem with it. I mean, that's just, it is.
You heard it. She said exactly what you thought she said. She equated gay men not only to being bitches, but she also equated gay men to being soft and being weaker, and that we would not defend our loved ones if the opportunity presented itself for us to have to do so. Her comments are not only disparaging, her comments are not only ill-informed, her comments are not only ignorant, but her comments are also very, very, very common within the Black community. So therefore, in this space, in this truthful place where Dr. Larry speaks truth, I think it's time for us to address these things. Address this from a truthful place, because what she said was some bullshit. Okay? It was bullshit. There is a perception in the Black community when it comes to the gay community that somehow we're something apart from Blackness. That somehow we float in some weird space. When you have, I dwell in pro-Black spaces. I'm around a lot of pro-Black individuals who speak the language of Black progression, Black liberation, Black freedom struggles. I'm around a lot of people who speak that conversation, but they always seem to fall short when it comes to being inclusive of the queer community in that conversation. You look at a Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar speaks a good rhetoric. Now, I have my own gripes with Dr. Umar, and a lot of people do. I feel like he's nothing but a traveling preacher who just talks and make money off of his lectures. I haven't really seen him do much, but I do see him talk a lot of bigotry, anti-gay, and a lot of misogyny when it comes to women. Hell, he's polygamous or polyamorous, whatever he is today. But I've seen other people I've admired, like 19 Keys, and others, Tariq Nasheed. They always seem, and even a lot of women, Nina Parker, a lot of women, they tend to go to these moments of homophobia, homo-hatred, homo-diminishing when they talk about the gay community. In fact, many of them, when they talk about the male community, the Black men, they seem to promote this narrative that there is an effeminization, a weakening of Black men. And they equate that weakening of Black men with feminization and homosexuality. It never fails. And this conversation damn sure ain't new. It is the reason why the architect of the March on Washington and the nonviolent tactics of Martin Luther King, Bayard Rustin, had to take a back seat to the movement. Martin Luther King had to disassociate himself with it because the perception that so many people had about Bayard Rustin's contribution to the movement. Y'all, I want my light on. And the light went off last time, but we're going to keep this light on because the light must stay on. Or maybe not. I guess it's on a timer, but we'll figure that out because that light, I want my light on. But the point is, hold on. Let's see if we can fix that problem. And we probably can't. We'll figure that out another time. But Bayard Rustin had to take a back seat to the movement, even though he was the architect. A lot of people now are becoming familiar with James Baldwin's works. But James Baldwin was phenomenal, talented, and was somebody to listen to in the day that he lived. But he wasn't widely received here, so much so that he left the country, moved to France, because at least the French saw the genius of James Baldwin in the time period he lived. And James Baldwin lived to the 80s. So did Bayard Rustin. But the point is, there is a underclassing and inferiorizing of black gay men and black gay people in general within the black community, and especially in black power movements and black progressive movements. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. I've had things nasty said to me. And it just is what it is. But what Dr. Heavenly said was diabolically wrong. First and foremost, let's be clear. You come for my loved ones. You come for any woman, any disabled, any child, any elderly person, or anyone who does not have the ability to defend themselves in my presence. You're going to have to defend yourself against me. Period. So her statement that says most gay men, or who she called bitch men, wouldn't step up, she must be talking about the majority of heterosexual men. Because when we talk about harming women, when we talk about abusing children, the majority of that is not happening from homosexual queer men. That is the heterosexual male community. When we talk about stepping up and being men, that's the queer community. Queer men are quick to step up for our friends, our female friends. All the time. There was on social media a situation about a woman named Ro who had got hit in the face allegedly. And I say allegedly because her situation, I say allegedly because her situation got weird. And the straight male population on social media ate her up. We shouldn't have to help her. She's not anyone we know. She's not a person that we should care about. And I went tooth and nail defending. It doesn't matter whether you know a woman or not. If you see her in danger, it is your job to step up for her. Same thing that if you see a woman and the door needs to be open, you open the door. If you see a woman on the bus or something or needs a seat in a place and you have a seat, you stand up and you give her a seat. Perhaps that's my upbringing, my Southern values. But there are things that men do regardless of sexual orientation that we do simply because we're men. That we were cultured to do. That I find that a lot of these younger generations of men are lacking. But will be the most ones promoting an aggressive form of masculinity. Which in many ways is just a mask of their true selves. Because hypermasculinity is not true masculinity. Just like hyperfemininity is not hyperfemininity. I tend to say hyperfemininity is what the drag queens do in their performances. The way they dress is a very hyperfeminine. So to do it is an extreme. Just like to be hypermasculine is an extreme. And you probably would see drag kings doing that in their performances. But this notion that because somebody is queer, that they're somehow weaker, doesn't make a bit of sense. But this is a perception that is very common in the black community. Somehow that you're less than a man. And even in her comment, she said, a real man. Last I checked when I woke up this morning, my tools were still the same in my toolbox. Nothing changed about my manhood. But she took it upon herself to diminish it, or to try to diminish it, as so many people do. One of the quickest ways to try to make a heterosexual man feel like less of a man is to call him gay, to call him a sissy, to call him sassy. That is the latest thing, calling him sassy or zesty, to try to diminish his manhood. And that is a form of toxic femininity. I used that term one time on social media, toxic femininity. And Claudia Jordan, y'all know Claudia, Housewives, Deal or Deal, she was on a bunch of stuff. She responded, toxic femininity, as though like she had never heard that word. If there is a toxic masculinity, there is an equal operating opposite. That is the law of balance. And the equal operating opposite of toxic masculinity is toxic femininity. And they operate in their respective places hyperly. And they're used to the detriment of the other side. So hyper masculinity seeks to over effeminize women or masculize women. And hyper femininity seeks to over masculize men or feminize men. But it does it either way. And so Dr. Heavenly's comments were stupid. They were ridiculous. They didn't make any sense. They're an indication of, as a community, there is still a lot of room for us to grow in our knowledge of people who are not heteronormative. People who are not heteronormative aren't new to existence. We are God's creations. We have been around just as long as any other group. So what's the deal? Are we going to continue to promote negative, nasty, irrational, unreasonable, stupid, ignorant rhetoric? Or are we going to grow ourselves? Now, to her credit, Dr. Heavenly did apologize, and I'll put the apology up here. She says she's a woman enough to admit when she's wrong. She's with us, all of these things. But I'm here to say you still should be canceled. I canceled R. Kelly. I canceled Diddy. I canceled Snoop Dogg. I canceled Nelly. We cancel people when they do things that harm the black community. The white gay community cancels people when they do things that harms the overall gay community. The Jewish community do things when people do and say things like Kanye that harms their community. The black queer community need to do the same thing. And I know why we don't always do it, because I saw this girl on YouTube. She was asking, why don't we? We don't have many allies as black queer people. And I keep saying this every time I talk about things. The black queer community experiences racism just like any other community, but we also face ostracization or being ostracized within our own community, the black community. And so when we have an ally, we latch on to them and we allow for a lot of shit. I'll say it this way, black queer men, black gay men allow heterosexual women to get away with a lot of shit. A lot of shit. The trans community let heterosexual women get away with a lot of shit that we don't let anybody else get away with. Why? Because we see y'all as an ally and one of our only allies. So we'll let y'all get away with some of the most disgusting shit. But let us say something that y'all find offensive. One trans woman said trans women were women. Or I think she said a while ago that cis women didn't have ownership or didn't have something to do with womanhood. And it sparked a whole freaking debate across the internet. Just hilarious. Got on her social media and ate that woman alive. Ate that trans woman alive. But guess what? I don't see Jess Hilarious on her same social media or on her platform on The Breakfast Club calling Dr. Heavenly out for what she's saying about the queer community and how gay men are weak. What I tend to find is that heterosexual women will use us as accessories, take us with them to parties, allow us to make them look good as far as fashion and makeup, listen to our shrewd advice on dating. Because here's the thing about gay men especially. Some of us have been hetero, so we know life, or we practice heterosexuality, because it's a practice. Sexuality is the practice. We practice heterosexuality, so we know what life is from that perspective, but we're also queer men, and we have the benefit of observing heterosexual relationships from nearly everyone around us, from our brothers, from our sisters, from our parents, aunties, uncles, grandparents, friends, teachers, the media. So we have an outsider perspective on the bullshit that y'all go through and endure in your relationships. So we give clear advice. And heterosexual women eat it up and use it. So they definitely take advantage of what we do and who we are. But let us say something that they find disrespectful, and they be the first to condemn us for filth. But they never be the first to jump in and defend us. And that's why I said Dr. Heavenly should be canceled. Because at the end of the day, we are sick of being your Gucci bags, your Louis Vuitton shoes. We sick of it. We want to be seen as equal humans and equal parts of our community. I watch Fox Soul. There's they do it's like In the Ring where they debate topics. And I love Quinnell. I think he's a brilliant brother, and he always hits the mark on a lot of things. But he has deep-seated homo hatred that he grounds in his Bible and his Quran. For no reason. How do you put a Bible over a human life? That is antithesis of what Jesus was talking about. Jesus would have never put the law before people. Never. The first rule and the most important law was to love thy neighbor as you love thyself, and as you love the Lord, and as the Lord loves you. That's it. So Dr. Heavenly's words were vile. And as a community, we need to stop with these thoughts that gay men are weak. Because I can promise you, that's a theory you do not want to test out with most gay men. Because all our lives we have to fight to prove who we are. That doesn't need to be tested. Because people have tried to test, I can say for myself, since I was in elementary school. And I've had to prove it whether they were in my family, at school, or out in the streets. And I've had to prove myself multiple times. And I was somebody who hung the streets. Hung around gangsters, hung around hustlers. You know, I hung in that world. Before I decided I was going to go. And I was in college, but I was going to finish my college and move into a different space. But I was always having to defend myself. My younger brother actually thought it was funny. He said he is in a gang and it was about that street life. And he said, everybody I know on the streets know you. They respect you. And I said, that's simply because I was out there. He said, but how you gay? How they respect you? I said, sometimes you earn respect. There was times I earned respect. And sometimes I had to fight for my respect. But either way, I was going to get it. So that's why I say her comments are stupid, because she does not know the lived experience of every queer man. And whether she apologized or not, the shit still hurts when you say it, because there are just as ignorant people as her out there who will believe that shit to be true. And will preach that same message that she's fucking preaching. Will diminish and reduce us just because they feel they can. So I don't take the apology. She can shove that apology up her fat ass. Dr. Heavenly is very easy to read. She has quite a lot of low-hanging fruit. Like she has low-hanging arm fat. And I would go there on her. But I have somewhat standards that I refuse to go in hard on black women or really any black people. But my community needs to step up, raise our vibration up, stop promoting these stupid ass, ignorant ass, dumb ass, crazy ass narratives. The queer community has been a part of the black community all your life, all my life. Stop acting like because now we're wanting to be able to be ourselves without any inhibitions and be more visible, that somehow we are encroaching on what you have. It kills me when I hear people say, you know, now they're trying to throw it in our children's faces. Now they're trying to make our children this and this, 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 and this, and this. Your children have always been around gay people. That ain't nothing new. I remember when I was a kid growing up, I'm playing outside, my brothers, we playing in the front yard, we playing basketball, and there literally was a trans woman who used to walk our streets as a prostitute. We all knew she was trans, Miss Bull. We all knew. But we all knew she was also not to be fucked with because it could hurt you. We had respect for Miss Bull. We didn't disrespect Miss Bull. Our parents didn't allow us to disrespect Miss Bull because they might not agree with Miss Bull's lifestyle as they would have put it. But at the end of the day, respect people regardless of you, whether or not you understand, respect, comprehend whatever choices they make. We were taught that. Most black people were taught that. What happened to the generations that remembered that? Because it seems like if it was up to most people, they would want queer people to go back into the closet. But I will put it to you this way, my people, black people. If it was up to white people, we'll go back to our place too. That same bigotry that y'all want to point to the queer black community is the same bigotry that racist white America wants to point to y'all. They want to treat us as black people as second-class citizens. They want to treat us as black people as inferior and less than. And if they were ever given the fucking opportunity to re-enslave us, you better fucking believe they would. And if you don't think they would, I got a mountain to sell you. You are delusional. So fuck Dr. Heavenly for what she said. Fuck her apology. I do think she needs to be canceled. Is there room for grace? There's always room for grace. But at the end of the day, she needs to understand how what she does not only harms her son potentially, who's an effeminate man. Whether he's gay or not is irrelevant. He's an effeminate man. And it was completely uncalled for. That's all I got to say on this. I wanted to talk on this because it's an important issue that I have seen all my life, my 40 plus years on this planet, and I'm out.